Right, members, it's about time to make a start. We have attained the quorum. The new legislative year has already begun. Item 1, election of chairman and deputy chairman of the House for 2014-2015. Right, let's proceed to the election. Under Section 20D and Schedule 4, the rules of procedure, members are invited to make a nomination. We need to have a seconder, a nominator and a seconder for any candidate. And the member nominated should accept the nomination. Mr. Chen Kam-nam, Andrew Leung, and the seconder, Mr. Ip Kok-him, seconds. I accept the nomination. Right, since I was nominated, I hand you over to the deputy chair. Any other nominations? Albert Chen, I nominate Ronnie Tong. I don't accept it. Any other nomination? Pardon me? I don't accept the nomination, I said. I have a second nomination. I nominate Mr. Chong Shu Kan. Mr. Chong, do you accept the nomination? No, I wouldn't accept this pointless nomination. Well, he said this is pointless. I nominate Miss Anne Chung. Miss Anne Chung, do you accept the nomination? Chairman, I support Mr. Andrew Leung. All right, subject to I nominate Mr. Wong Kwok-hing. Mr. Chen, you have made many nominations. I think Andrew Leung is not a suitable candidate. Any other 58 would be better than him, so I will be nominating the other 68. So I'll be nominating them all. This is my right, Chairman. If I think that somebody is not right, then I should be allowed to express my dissatisfaction through the nomination. I hope the members will have the interest of LegCo and the interest of Hong Kong at heart. They should not divide up all these seats at expense of Hong Kong's interest. I don't accept the nomination. I think Mr. Chan is exploiting his position to make the nomination one by one, other than Mr. Andrew Leung. I think he is stalling the matter. I think, Chairman, you should exercise your prerogative and hold this practice by Mr. Chen. He may be allowed to do so, but it is unreasonable. It is a waste of time. Mr. Wong Kwok-hing, point taken. I've asked the clerk, and I was told that this is the right, within the right of members. Mr. Chen, I nominate Mr. Michael Tin. Do you accept the nomination, Mr. Tin? Well, I was considered the fifth one being considered. I don't accept it. Any other nominations? No? Chairman, yes, indeed. I am considering, since Mr. Ten responded like this, I'm considering who should be given a higher priority. I shouldn't put someone too low on the priority list. Mr. Lam Tai Fai, he is standing up. I think he accepted the nomination. Mr. Lam, do you accept the nomination? No, you don't. Well, then you have to ask whether there is a seconder before asking me. I am rather busy. I don't think I'm up to the job. Well, I hope you understand. Mr. Chan already said he will be nominating members one by one. In the interest of efficiency, the member being nominated should indicate their stance as soon as possible. Chairman. Well, perhaps you should ask whether there is anyone who would accept the nomination so that Mr. Chen would find it easier. All right, in the interest of the efficiency, any member who would like to accept the nominations. Mr. James To, I object to that, Chairman. because until we are nominated, it would not be right for us to say whether we accept their nomination. It is wholly stupid, and this is illogical, Mr. Chairman. I think members can freely express their views, express their stance. It would be acceptable. If you don't want to indicate your stance, so be it. Well, he may not accept the nomination publicly, but I still can make the nomination. You can't deprive me of the nominating right. Legal advisor, please. Chairman, the CFA handed down the ruling recently that the president in presiding over the meeting should be chairing the meeting in a fair and impartial manner. As to the details, I think the power lies with the president, and these should apply to the chairman of the House Committee. All right, I was asking whether members should indicate their stance. Would it be fair? I don't think it's fair. Why not? Mr. To, Chairman, until someone is nominated, they should not be forced to indicate their stance. I don't think you should force anybody to so indicate their stance. Mr. To, I didn't force you. If you so wish, you don't have to indicate your stance. I was asking who would like to indicate their stance. And Mr. Raymond Chan, if a member declined the nomination, then the member can nominate somebody else. Is it the ruling that you'd like to hand down, Mr. Porche? Chairman, I'd like to respond to the legal advisor. I think the chairman or any fellow members will have to make sure that the meeting is conducted in a fair and efficient manner. We don't necessarily have to vote on every single thing. If there is no contra view, then we don't have to waste any time. Chairman, what you suggested, if the majority are agreeable, then in the interest of the efficiency of the meeting, in the interest of not having any more farce, I'm sure that the members of the public would like to see what you suggested. Right? Who would not like to accept the nomination? Please raise their hands.
All
right, then, Mr. Albert Chan. I didn't see anybody. I couldn't see them all. I couldn't see all the hands. I didn't jot them down unless you break for 5 minutes and give me a list of the names. Mr. Chen, please carry on. I didn't see all the hands. I didn't see who raised their hands. Chairman, I'm considering who should be given a higher priority. I mentioned Mr. Lam Dai-fai. Yesterday, Mrs. Regina Ip did conduct the meeting very, very well. I nominate Mrs. Regina Ip. I don't accept the nomination, Chairman. Well, Mr. Chen, you said that you didn't see all the hands. Perhaps the clerk can tell you the names. Do I have to? Chairman is your executive authority, but I don't think I accept this this way of handling the meeting. I think constitutionally it is within our right to make nomination. It is within members' right to decline the nomination. But if I am not allowed to make the nomination, then under the ICCPR, it is suspect. So on this particular question, you are causing a constitutional crisis, Mr. Chairman. You are a representative of the Democrats. I think you are abusing your executive authority and you are depriving us of the nominating right. We are fighting for a universal suffrage for the chief executive that is not subject to any pre-screening. I think you are far harsher than C.Y. Leung in chairing the meeting. The threshold is way too high. Well, Chairman, if you allow members to make the nomination, then just go ahead with the nomination. They don't have to advance all these elaborate arguments. I support your decision, Chairman, that the member advanced all these elaborate arguments while making the nomination. I protest this strongly. Mr. Raymond Chen, I nominate Mr. Leung Kwok-hong. I do accept the nomination. Any other nomination? Any seconder? Yes, we've had a seconder. I second Mr. Leung Kwok-hong. Yes, indeed, we do have a seconder. I thought Mr. Chen did. Any other nominations? Any other nomination? Mr. Paul Chair. I think after the second nomination can still take place. Who did you nominate? Mr. Paul Chair? Chairman. I raised my hand to say I don't accept the nomination. I'm sitting in front of Mr. Chen. I think Mr. Chen is really playing a game, and this is a classic example of Mr. Chen playing a game. I didn't see you raise your hand. Please raise your hand again. Oh, no, I see you raise your hand. You raised your hand, is it because you accept the nomination? I nominate Mr. Gary Fan. Mr. Fan, do you accept the nomination? Yes, I do. Seconder? Dr. Kwok. Any other nominations? Chairman. They were too far away from me. I didn't see them well enough. Mr. Abraham Sheikh is really an eminent, really distinguished member. Mr. Sheikh, I raised my hand already. I won't accept the nomination. Legal advisor, any restriction here? No. Mr. Leung Kwok-hong, I nominate you yourself. I did say I didn't accept the nomination. Right, unless Mr. Ip Kwok-him, are you making nominations? Well, Chairman, those who have been nominated should not be nominated again. And nominations should take place once per person. And he's already nominated Ronnie Tong. Well, please. Please, order, please. Mr. Leung Kwok-hong, order, please. I'm seeking legal advice.
OK， 有冇其他嘅
Any further nominations? Mr. Albert Chen, I nominate Mr. Lau Wong-fat, the most experienced seasoned member. Mr. Chen, you have made at least 10 or more than 10 members, and there are 3 who, for whom we have to cast a vote. If you go through each member one by one, I think you are abusing your nominating right, so please think again. Chairman, as I said, I'm terribly unhappy with the way Mr. Andrew Leung conducted the meeting. I do have justification, Mr. Chairman. I have advanced the justification. He is not a suitable candidate. There are 68 who are really better than him. I respect you, Chairman. I would stop my nominations.
Sorry, speaker is not coming through.
當然
Mr. Ip Kwok-him. This is nonsense, says Mr. Ip. I think he's blind. That's why I don't think I need to respond. I've already raised my hand to indicate that I do not accept the nomination. All right, so we'll ask the staff to issue a ballot paper to each of you, and then you have to use a chop to affix on the ballot paper. I'd like to respond to the way he chaired the meeting. Chairman, it should not be unfair and unopen. Mr. Andrew Leung, as usual, Chairman, I'll try my best to maintain the order and proper conducting of the meeting of the House Committee, and I'll do my best to serve all of you.
Mr.
Leung Kwok Hong. Chairman and all the pro-establishment members, all right, I'll be doing due diligence. I'll call the central authorities to seek their views, and then I'll call Mr. Zhang Dejiang to find out how he thinks about certain matters, and then I'll call C.Y. Leung, and then if C.Y. Leung doesn't respond, then I'll call Mrs. Carrie Lam, until such time when everybody agrees that we should have a meeting, and then we can convene a meeting. I don't think anyone else would be doing that. I'll be prepared to go all out to do this, and if Mr. Xi Jinping is not prepared to take my call, then I'll be calling up everyone. So I think my political platform is remarkable, so I'll try my best, I'll try my utmost, and I'll prepare to go all out to do my best. So it's like the NPC, everybody will be pressing the button at the same time, and I'll be suggesting that there is no need to press the button. All you need to do is to applaud. Mr. Gary Fan, I'd like to thank the member for nominating me. I'll act in strict accordance with the rules of procedure in conducting the meeting. And I'd like to point out that Mr. Andrew Leung, I'll certainly do a better job than him, because if you look at the XRL incident a few months ago, I proposed a debate on PNP, Powers and Privileges Ordinance, and as chair of the House Committee, I think Mr. Andrew Leung was doing a lousy job in chairing the meeting. He was very biased, and as a result, the motion on the PNP was not able to be discussed at all. So I hope that for the Pan-Democrats and the pro-establishment camp, if I manage to get your support, I'll not be making the same kind of blunder, and I'll have to be fair in conducting the meeting. I have to be fair and open in conducting all meetings. That's my pledge. Thank you. Okay. The staff will go around and distribute the ballot paper, and according to the rules of procedure, all the candidates will be given or assigned a number, and then you will have to indicate your preference on the ballot paper. So all you need to do is to affix the seal on the ballot paper in a box next to the name of the candidate. Number 1 is Mr. Andrew Leung. Number 2, Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. Number 3, Mr. Gary Fan. As it's a secret ballot, please do not show your ballot paper to anyone else. And after you have affixed your chop on the ballot paper, all you need to do is to return it to the staff. You don't need to fold it up. Has anyone not yet got any ballot paper? Please indicate if you haven't been distributed the ballot paper. So everyone has it? Okay, so please affix the seal. We don't know yet. Just a moment. Okay, we've distributed 63 ballot papers altogether. All right, if members have already affixed the seal on the ballot paper, then I suggest that the voting is closed and no further ballot paper will be distributed, and then the staff will now collect the ballot papers from members.
OK。嗱，我而家就請提名。
Okay, I'll invite Mr. Chen Kam Lam, who made the nomination, Mr. Raymond Chan and Mr. Albert Chan. All three have made nominations, so please come forward to monitor the counting of votes, and all the votes will be destroyed immediately under the supervision of the Secretary. The three members, please come forward. Staff, please count the number of ballot papers that you've collected.
$63
63 ballot papers have been collected. Number 1. Number 2. Number 2. Invalid vote. Blank vote. Number 1. Number 1. Number 2. Number 1. Number 1. Number 2. Number 1. Blank vote. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. Mr. Paul Chair, I hope that for those monitoring the counting of vote, they should not be the cheerleaders. They should not be playing tricks. They should just be doing their job of monitoring the counting of votes. Number 1. Number 2. Number 1. 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 Number 2. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. Number 3. Number 2. Number 1. 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 Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 3. Number 3. Number 1. Number 4. This one is number 4, so it's an invalid vote. Number 2. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. Number 3. Number 3. Number 4 is an invalid vote. Number 3. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. All right. The result is Mr. Andrew Leung 39 votes, Mr. Leung Kwok Hong 14, and Gary Fan 6. So I declare that Mr. Leung has been elected as House Committee Chairman for 2014. Thank you for your support, colleagues. Now is the election of the Deputy Chairman of the House Committee for the 2014-15 session. So the procedure is we have to have a nominating member making an oral or verbal nomination, and it has to be accepted by the one being nominated. Please make the nominations, Mr. Helena Wong. Ms. Helena Wong.
Mr. Ronnie Tong, Mr. Kenneth Leung, second. Any other nomination? If not, I declare that Mr. Ronnie Tong become Vice Chairman of the House Committee for 2014-15. Item 2, confirmation of the minutes of the 31st meeting held on July 4th, 2014. The minutes have been made available to members, and no requests or no comments that were expressed. Can I take the minutes as confirmed? Matters arising. Meeting with the CS. There is nothing in particular to report to members. Item 4, business arising from previous council meetings. Legal Service Division submitted reports on bills referred to the House Committee in accordance with Rule 54.4. There are 4 reports that defer to the legal advisor, please. Chairman, there are 2 bills for first reading on the 9th of July. The first one is LS 77. That's the Veterinary Surgeons Registration Amendment Bill 2014. The bill seeks to increase the complaint handling capacity of the Veterinary Surgeons Board in order to expedite the complaint handling process of the VSB. The administration consulted the public in October 2012, and in 2012 and 2014, the FSCHP or panel was briefed on the consultation results, and members were basically in support. And members may wish to set up a Bills Committee to scrutinize the bill. We have written to the administration with some clarification. A reply is still awaiting. A BC, Ms. Sidho, proposes a Bills Committee. Who would like to join the BC? There will be further circulation of invitation. Legal advisor, please. Chairman, the next one is the Land Miscellaneous Provisions Amendment Bill 2014. Please refer to LS 76. Chairman, the bill seeks to increase the penalties for offences relating to unlawful occupation of unleased land, unlawful erection of a structure on unleased land, and extraction or removal of earth, turf, or stone from unleased land without a removal permit. Basically, it's all about the penalty. Other than the one-off penalty for persistent offences, there will be a daily fine to be imposed. There will also be some miscellaneous amendments. We've sought clarification from the administration. A reply has been forthcoming. I would suggest the members set up a Bills Committee. All right, do you see the need for a BC? Mr. Wu Chi-wai? Yes, I propose a Bills Committee. Who's going to join? Right, again, there will be further invitation. Legal advisor, please. So much for the bills, Mr. Chairman. Moving on now to 3 reports to do with subsidiary legislation. Towards the end of the last legislative year, the subsidiary legislation, several pieces were submitted, and we haven't quite got round to them. And we asking whether members should set up subcommittees. There are other pieces for which gazetting was just done. The first batch LS 78 and LS 80. There are 11 pieces between July 4th and September 19th. Perhaps I just mentioned the LN number 103 to 111. The first four have to do with the fees and charges, about the fire services installation contractors, and also dangerous goods, and also timber stores. There will be a fee hike. 108, 107 have to do with dangerous ordnance and control of chemicals ordnance. There will be substances ended, and they will go into effect on the 8th of November. The other one is about the Bridges Street. This will cease to be a market, and there are two notices and one declaration of market notice. Chairman, these subsidiary legislation, the amendment will end on the 15th of October. Since the first council meeting will take place next Wednesday, so the amendment period will be extended to the 22nd of December, and this can also be extended further by a resolution. All right, there are three batches, 103 to 106. LN 103 to 106, they have to do with fire service regulation. Do you see the need for subcommittees? No? Next, 107, 108, dangerous drugs ordinance and control of chemicals ordinance. Any SC? No? 109, 110, to do with markets. Any subcommittee needed? No? Legal advisor, please. There are three for a report. The volunteer and naval volunteer pensions ordinance amendment of schedules order. This is to take account of inflation. Under the law, the pension has to go up, and this has gone into effect on the 1st of April. There are two pieces to do with the tunnel tolls. The first one is the Tai Lam Tunnel and Yuen Long Approach Road Ordinance, and the other one is the Yuen Long Approach Road. The road users at the present moment do get the special arrangement, and they will not be adversely affected. So much I have to say. Perhaps can I move on to the other two pieces, Mr. Chairman? They are also subsidiary legislation. 114, 115 for LN 114, 115, and they are under the UN conventions. There are two countries involved. Bear with me. I just missed out on the country names. Côte d'Ivoire and DPRK. And they can be referred to the relevant committee for scrutiny. All right. The UN regulations, we can refer them to the Seat Host Committee for scrutiny. Last two, Chairman, gazetted on the 3rd of October. The first one is Summary of Disposal Complaints, Solicitors Amendment Rules 2014. And this is basically in relation to the RME causes by solicitors. And the procedures will be streamlined, and the effective date will be gazetted by the President of the Law Society. The other one is the Smoking Public Health, Designation of No Smoking Areas Amendment Notice 2014. Now, there are 7 public transport facilities that are subject to no smoking arrangement. And because of the changes in circumstances, there will be a gazetting that has to be done. This will go into effect on the 31st of December 2014. Right, no SC needed. Just a reminder that the deadline for amendment is on the 10th of November. Right, moving on to business for council meeting on October 15th. The business from the 8th of October will be moved to the 15th. There are 20 questions altogether. Bills, first and second reading. District Cooling Services Bill. We will deal with this bill at the next meeting. Motion for adjournment of the council. Adjournment motion on the handling of people's assemblies by the SAR government and Hong Kong police in September 26th this year, to be moved by Mr. Alan Leung under Rule 16(2) of the ROP. Bill, resumption of debate and second reading, Marriage Amendment Bill 2014. Government motions. The Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development will move a resolution under Section 54A of the Interpretation and General Clauses Ordinance, Cap 1, and the resolution of the Pharmacy under Pharmacy and Poisons Ordinance by SFH. Members' motions. Motion on returning a happy childhood to students by Mr. Michael Tin, and motion on reorganizing the government structure to improve policy implementation by Mr. Kenneth Leung, and also adjournment motion on the security arrangements adopted by LegCo in respect of large-scale public events to be moved by Mr. Raymond Wong. The Chief Executive's question and answer session on October 16th. It will take place between 9:30 and 11. There will not be any scope for questions in connection with this Q&A session. You can ask anything you like. There will be no scope imposed. Business for the council meeting of October 22nd, questions 22, 6 oral, and the other are written questions. Bills, first reading, there is no notice. Neither do we have any government motion. Members' motions. Mr. Lam Tai Fai will move a motion on the concern about the integration and conflicts between Hong Kong and mainland. Mr. Raymond Wong will move a motion on devising the constitution by all people, making a new covenant and realizing genuine Hong Kong people ruling Hong Kong. Reports of bills, committee and subcommittees report. The list has been tabled before members. Just a reminder that if you would like to speak, please notify the Secretariat before Friday. Reports of bills and committees and subcommittees. Report of the Bills Committee on Child Abduction Legislation Miscellaneous Amendments Bill 2013. Mr. Dennis Kwok.
Amend the Child Abduction and Custody Ordinance and other enactments to provide for combating child abduction and for better implementing the Convention on the Civil Aspects of International Child Abduction. The Bills Committee has held 6 meetings with the administration to study the bill. Members support in general the legislative proposals to empower the court to make prohibition order, location order, and recovery order in the relevant proceedings to tackle the problem of cross-border child abduction. Require the notification of prohibition order or recovery order to the Director of Immigration and empower immigration officers and police officers to detain a child being removed from Hong Kong in breach of a court order. The deliberations of the Bills Committee are detailed in its report. In light of the members' views and suggestions, the administration will move a number of committee stage amendments to the bill. The Bills Committee supports these amendments to be moved by the administration. The Bills Committee raises no objection to the resumption of second reading debate on the bill and will not propose any amendment to the bill. The administration has indicated its intention to resume the second reading debate on the bill at the Council meeting of 22nd of October 2014. Thank you, Chairman.
I'd
like to remind members that if you want to move any proposals for amendments, then the deadline for notification is the 14th of October. Next, report on the competition bill, and I'm the chairman of the bill, and I'll be reporting as chairman of the competition bill. And the bill seeks to empower the Competition Commission certain powers in order to operate smoothly, and also to ensure that the tribunal will be able to operate smoothly, and certain provisions are made, and also some miscellaneous amendments will be made. And a total of 2 meetings have been held by the Bills Committee, and we met with the administration, and members supported the bill so that the tribunal will be able to operate smoothly upon the commencement of the ordinance. On top of that, we also looked at the specific powers to be given to the competition tribunal, and whether or not that would have any impact on the general powers given to the tribunal under the ordinance with regard to the ban for any person to leave Hong Kong, and how it could be implemented, and also the operation of the tribunal, and also the judicial manpower of the tribunal, whether or not it's adequate. Some inquiries have been made, and in response to members' inquiries, the administration will be moving several amendments at the committee stage in order to ensure consistency of the bill. And most of these amendments are technical in nature, and the Bills Committee agrees with these amendments, and no amendment will be moved by the Bills Committee. We do not object to the resumption of second reading debate. As regards the date for the resumption, we will have to wait for the administration's notification, and then all the details are set out in the paper. The status with regard to the Bills Committee and so on, a total of 16 Bills Committee are in action, and 12 will have to start work after 3 months of scrutiny, and there are 8 set up under the House Committee, and 9 subcommittees are looking into policy matters under the various panels. They are all in operation. Next, priority allocation of a debate slot for a motion debate on the report of the Joint Subcommittee on Long-Term Care Policy. I'll defer to Dr. Fernando Cheung, Chairman of the Joint Subcommittee. Thank you, Chairman. The Joint Subcommittee has completed its work. It's set up under the Welfare Services and Health Services panel. As the work is subject to a lot of public attention, the 2 panels would like to ask that a priority slot be given to the subcommittee so that a motion debate can be raised for members to express their views, so that the administration can also respond to that. Well, as the meeting to be held on the 8th of October has been deferred to the 15th, that's why, with regard to the date for the motion, we also propose that be deferred to the 5th of November. And if the House Committee agrees to the above request, then I, as chairman of the Joint Subcommittee meeting, I'll be moving the motion, and the 2 panels also propose that at the relevant council meeting, other than having the proposed motion debate, there should only be one other non-legally binding motion being debated by members. Do members agree with the proposal by Dr. Fernando Cheung? Agree? Okay, so we'll ask the President to consider this. So there will only be one other non-legally binding motion on top of this. Next, Committee on Rules of Procedure So that's the amendment moved under Rules of Procedure 17.3 and House Rules 28. In accordance with the with Rule 17.3 and Rule 28 of the House Rules, if there is any proposal for a discussion on a certain matter, then we will have to direct that all members be summoned back, and if after 15 minutes a quorum is not present, then the President will have to count for the quorum, and if a quorum is not formed, then the President shall adjourn the Council without question put. So that was originated from the Westminster-style parliaments. That's the basis for the previous Legislative Council, and as Westminster-style parliaments, where resumption of the House from a committee of the whole House, I've read it correctly. So, unlike the Westminster-style parliaments, where resumption of the House from a committee of the whole House entails a change of the chair, resumption of the Council from a committee of the whole Council in LegCo does not require a change of the chair. Hence, in a committee of the whole Council, there is no need for us to change the chair before we can resume the Council. That's why, in accordance with the long-standing practice of the LegCo, after the quorum bell has been rung for 15 minutes in a committee of the whole Council, and a quorum is not then present, the Council is resumed, and the President adjourns the Council without ordering a head count again. So that's the arrangement. So the CROP proposes that Rule 17.3 be amended accordingly in order to reflect the existing practice. In fact, that's the current practice already, so we are just tidying up the wording of the Rules of Procedure. Recently, the Secretariat also reviewed Rule 28 of the HR, which provides for the arrangements for committee meetings during typhoon or tropical cyclone warning signals and rainstorm warning signals. And the CROP supports the Secretariat's proposal to revise the wording of the HR in order to align the terminology currently used in the HR with that used by the Hong Kong Observatory, and to cover the scenario where when the warning signal is issued within 2 hours before the appointed time of a meeting. The proposed amendments are set out in the appendix of the paper, so members are invited to consider the proposal to amend Rule 17.3 of the Rules of Procedure and endorse the proposed amendments to Rule 28 of HR, as set out in the appendices. Subject to members' views, as Chairman of the CROP, I'll move a motion at a Council meeting on the 29th of October to amend Rule 17.3 of the Rules of Procedure. Any comments from members? Mr. Lam Kok Hong. What did you say? Was that Wisconsin? So what's Westminster? I think that's the formal translation or the official translation by the Secretariat. And if you want to clarify that, you can check it out with the Secretariat. Secretary, anything to add? Chairman? That's the official Chinese translation for Westminster adopted by the Secretariat. So is it the same as Saimanzi in the past? All right, the Secretary General has pointed out that it's equivalent to Westminster. Chairman? You haven't called me, so I don't know whether or not I can speak. Yes, Claudia Mo. Westminster. For the entire century, we've been calling it Saimanzi in Chinese. So please don't change it casually. please do not use Mainlandish translation. I've never heard it being translated into 威斯文斯特. This is the first time ever that I've heard it. So please don't tell us that it's a long-standing translation. So that's an insult to the well-established translation terms used in Hong Kong. Anything to add, Secretary General? No. Mr. Albert Chan? Chairman, I support Ms. Claudia Mo's point because in the past, every time when I refer to this term, I've always used the term 西文字 as the Chinese version. I don't know why all of a sudden the SG thinks that after some survey on the translation terms and so on, why has he decided to use the new term? Because as Mr. Tam Yu Chong tried it, he had a lot of difficulty reading that out clearly. So why don't we just stick to the old term 西文字? All right. So if there is no objection, then we will adopt the proposal by the Secretariat. Next, issues relating to the recent assemblies and occupation of roads arising from these assemblies. We have received a total of 5 urgent questions and 2 proposals to invoke the Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance. So I'd like to divide it into 2 groups of issues. First, on the 5 urgent verbal questions, and then I'll deal with the 2 proposals to invoke the Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance to look into the incident. All right, we'll deal with the easier ones first, because for the 5 urgent questions, we'll deal with them as a batch, and then for the 2 motions to invoke the Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance, we'll deal with that later. Mr. Raymond Wong. All right, we're going to have a very long meeting. So they are all related to the recent assemblies and occupation of roads arising from these assemblies. So for how long are we going to stay here for this meeting? If necessary, we can stay until 11 p.m. All right, I have to get prepared for that because I have other business to deal with. But then, all right, you just set the priorities, and then I'd like to speak first. Okay. So we'll first deal with the non-controversial issues. That's the 5 urgent oral questions. For those in favor, please raise your hands. You agree with my proposal to deal with them. Here we are dealing with a point of order, so there is no need for us to debate it. Mr. Lam Kwok Hong, 1 minute. I think you should go first, because these are, well, for the non-binding issues, they are just appetizers. So I think the P&P is the main dish. So members think that is a very important thing to invoke the Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance. If you just give us some appetizers, then if there are 1,000 oral questions, then there is no way that we can discuss the P&P issue. So I think the main dish should go first. There is no way that we should discuss the appetizers. All right, it's okay for you to divide it into 2 groups, but then I think we should discuss the P&P issues first. Please don't go for the easier ones first, because in any case we will have to debate it. And if my proposal is rejected, then I'll have to go to the council meeting, because I'll have to do it anyway. I've already prepared for them to be voted down by members here. And if you go for the urgent questions first, then there'll be a lot of debate on them before we can move on to the next one. Don't think that they are easier ones. So in order to make sure that I'll stand a chance of seeking a proper relief, then I should be allowed to speak first. Okay, in the event that members voted it down, then I can always go to the council meeting to seek redress. Any comment? Mr. KK Fong? I didn't raise my hand. I haven't raised my hand, so can I speak on the question that I'm asking? So do members agree that I should deal with the 5 urgent oral questions first before I allow Mr. Raymond Wong and Mr. Jeffrey Lam to speak on their motions to invoke the Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance.
表決鐘響5分鐘。
And now we are going to have secret ballot. We have to have a vote. The bell will ring for 5 minutes.
做緊，秘書處。 你唔出聲唔敢。我唔知啊，我撩嘈，我冇撇嗱，你會拆我招牌啊嗱，大佬，拆我招牌，拆我前方，我哋死咯！ 唔係乜突然間見到有6個人，我唔知啊嘛，大佬。而家咧就係
Right, members, we are voting on the fact that we should deal with the 5 urgent questions first. If you're in favor of that, you vote in favor. If you want the PNP dealt with first, then you vote the other way. Please proceed to vote. Before I close the voting, please check your votes. Unless you have any questions, the voting now ends. Please display the results. 62 present, 36 for, 25 against, and no abstention. Mr. K.K. Fong, the floor is yours. 2 minutes, please. Chairman, I've submitted an urgent question on the 28th. The police tear gassed the protesters, and in the whole process there are so many questions that are outstanding, like what criteria were adopted. Why is it that some protesters told me that without the usual practice of giving warnings, they were tear gassed? So there are so many questions that are still outstanding. The protest is still going on. Will we see a repeat of similar incident? I think we ought to have some clarification by the police. Ms. Helena Wong, Chairman. The urgent question I'd like to raise is in connection with Mong Kok. There were pro-Occupy protesters and journalists who cover the events who were assaulted and injured on the 3rd and 4th of October. There were some female protesters who alleged to have been subject to sexual harassment or they have been molested. There were reports that the police condoned the triad elements, or they were acting in collusion with the triad elements. These are very extraordinary allegations. I would like to question the police as to whether there would be any review or any investigation. The protest is still going on. We would be anxious to find out whether the safety of the protesters will be safeguarded and what arrangement will be put in place by the police. Ms. Sitho, on the 28th of September, the police used a lot of tear gas, and there were rumors that the police would be firing at the protesters. I'm not sure whether it would be plastic bullets or whether it would be live ammunition. We were lucky enough to avoid that. Everybody has stated their stance. We don't really want to see any force being used to clear the protest sites. We really want to find out about the decision-making mechanism regarding the clearance. The police blamed the commanders on the scene. They were on the 28th of September, 6 p.m. Through to 6 a.m. There were tear gas, volleys and volleys of tear gas that were used. Who made the decision? Where was the CS? The CS said that it wouldn't be appropriate for her to talk about this as someone not from the police. And it was also said that the CE would be aware of that. We would like to find out about the decision-making mechanism. If the mechanism is not good enough, if the mechanism means that the chief executive can order bullets being fired, then we ought to review it. Mrs. Fenelor said that the police ought to explain to the Executive Council, and I believe that the EXCO was also kept in the dark. Is it the case that the decision-making power lies in the hands of only a small handful of people who would like to find out about the decision-making mechanism? I hope that members from across the political spectrum would stop any bloodshed from happening. Dr. Kwok Kai-Kee, Chairman, what we saw on the 28th of September would be vivid memory. When the unarmed protesters were awaiting government response, we saw on TV, we saw on the scene that the police put up a banner to say that they have to leave, otherwise they will open fire. In fact, the police were really armed with a Remington shotgun and also other firearms. For those unarmed protesters, they were subject to really tremendous threats. Lucky enough, the protesters, the Occupy protesters, were peaceful, and otherwise they could have caused a pandemonium. Why is it that the police would put up a banner to say that they will open fire? There was said that the banner was held up back to front. Now, it wasn't really the truth. The protesters are still outside this chamber. I'm not sure how soon the police will be raising the banner, how soon they're going to be using firearms. Now, this is an urgent question. I hope the members will support this. We don't really want the police to do away or to do anything they like to cause any injury. These are political issues. We have to resolve them politically. The government has been hiding, and in particular, Mr. C.Y. Leung and the CS Mrs. Carrie Lam. Now we believe we want to believe that the police are protecting us. Mr. Tam Yu Chung, Chairman, my question is somewhat different from those of other members, and they're questioning the way in which the police handled the matter. My question is from the members of the public's point of view, that the Occupy movement has been going on for more than 10 days. There are trunk roads that have been blocked. There are dozens of bus routes and minibus routes and that have been affected and diverted. Trams are also affected. People are relying solely on the MTR. If the MTR gets into trouble, then the consequences will be really too ghastly to contemplate, because the MTR system is liable to get into trouble. What's going to happen to the traveling public if this really happens? I hope that there would be solutions from the government. Those SMEs in the catering trade, in the retail sector, are coming out and crying foul. And they said that they find it difficult to meet the payments, to meet the wage bill and so on, and they're teetering on the brink of collapse. So what immediate measures are there on the part of the government? There are roads that are blockaded, and what's going to happen if natural disasters, fire, industrial accidents, major traffic accidents were to occur? Will there be any plans to make sure that the emergency crew will be on the scene immediately? Now, after all, life will be at stake, and I think that this is an urgent enough question. And I hope that the President would give me the approval for this to be raised. All right, we've heard from 5 members, 1 minute each for other members. Mrs. Regina Ip.
I think the urgent question asked by Mr. Tam Yu Chung is somewhat different from the others, because he's referring to the future, because traffic has been seriously affected, and many people are having their livelihood affected, and therefore they'd like to know urgently as to whether or not the administration has anything up its sleeve to resolve this problem. That's why I think it's an urgent question, and I support it. With regard to other members' concern about police operations, I think those should be discussed at the security panel meeting. With regard to the use of tear gas, well, Chairman, as you know, last Sunday, the Sunday Morning Post, who was the commander on the ground, the superintendent already explained the criteria, so there is no question of senior officials calling the shots, or not does it involve any judicial issue. So I support the urgent question asked by Mr. Tam and not the others. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Paul Chair. Chairman, in principle, on the one hand, I agree with what Mrs. Regina Ip just said about the question raised by Mr. Tam Yu-jung is a very important one. And according to my understanding during the midday news, there were also calls for major roads and the MTR system to be occupied. That means the question to be asked by Mr. Tam would be even more urgent. But then for the others, they are looking at police operations from different angles. Yes, I understand that the protesters are still outside and police might be mounting certain operations, so there might be needs for those questions to be asked. But then instead of allowing each and every one of the 4 questions to be asked, I think they should be divided into 2 main groups. So that's in accordance with the proposal that you made earlier, instead of having 4 separate oral questions, because that would take an unduly long time to deal with them. So I think it's up to the President to decide, so we can convey your views to the President. Any objection to the 5 urgent questions to be asked? If not, then okay, so we'll agree that the 5 urgent questions can be asked next week. Now I'll deal with 2 motions moved by Mr. Raymond Wong and Mr. Jeffrey Lam on the setting up of select committees to look into the matter. So I'll give each of the 2 members 3 minutes. Mr. Raymond Wong, thank you. In the afternoon of the 3rd of October in Causeway Bay, there were thugs or rioters attacking the protesters. So it's not that we have read from the newspapers or the impression that we got from the media. Indeed, for those of us who have been watching the events unfolding, in fact, we can see that these are unarmed protesters, and yet they have been subject to attacks and assaults by thugs and rioters and so on. So even for the pro-establishment TV station and so on. So whatever stance they have adopted, when you look at the scenes on the TV screen, you can see that they are organized syndicates, and they try to pull down the barricades, and they were assaulting the protesters. But then the biggest problem was that the police were apparently sitting aside, hands folded, and they could see that protesters were being assaulted, molested, or even sexually harassed. So we have had people videotaping such scenes, and we had all the scenes available. And actually, you can see all the videos from the web. So this would deal a very severe blow to the image of the police. So is it that CY Leung has asked people to do this? Some actually suspected that it might have been from the liaison office or even the national security people who masterminded this. So you can see that the Occupy Central movement is a very peaceful movement, and you also said that people from Mong Kok would be occupying Central. How can that be done? All right, it's not. So it's a movement which has been initiated by the students, and then the public responded positively. So even if you ask the organizers of the Occupy Central movement to call off the movement, to ask people to leave, none of them will be able to do that now. But then one of the characteristics is that these people have been very peaceful, and every time when there is people trying to incite violence and so on, they always sing happy birthday song to them. So even yesterday or last night I was there, and I can see that they are very peaceful. All right, Mrs. Regina Ip is suggesting that they are actually the denying people from making a living. In fact, in Portland Street and also Shanghai Street, there might be one-woman brothels and also karaoke's and so on, but then they are sunset businesses already. So there is no question of people making life difficult for the underworld. I think that would be very shameless for you to make that sort of remark, because nobody actually fought back at all. So those were syndicated, they were organized syndicates, and international media was shocked. And now they are trying to put all these to a halt, and they were only isolated attacks in Mong Kok. And Mr. Regina, if I challenge you to take a walk with me in Mong Kok, I dare to say that nothing will happen to you. Mr. Jeffrey Lam, well, for the OCM, from the time when it was first organized, Hong Kong already moved into an era of rift and division. And on the 22nd of September, students started this strike, and then the organizers announced that the Occupy Central movement was formally kick-started. And I think up till now, there are still 3 locations where people are occupying these streets and roads illegally, and that has lasted for more than 10 days now. And many roads in Hong Kong are very congested these days. And in the past, what used to take you about 2 or 3 minutes to pass by a road, now it could take you 30 minutes or up to an hour to pass by. And a lot of inconvenience has been caused to the public. And from time to time, we have heard about conflicts between the demonstrators and those who are against the OCM. And what is even more unsettling is that even between family members and friends, because they might have different stance on the event, as a result there has been a lot of conflicts. And even amongst the friends, people would unfriend their friends. So why have we gotten into this state of affairs? And if we set up a select committee to look into the matter, then we will be able to find out more about the ins and outs of the event, and the whole picture will be clearer. The whole movement is unlawful, and that has already caused a lot of disruptions to our community. And the way the organizers managed to mobilize the public is beyond expectation. I think we should restore order in a community, and we should also look into the matter from different perspectives. We should find out the cause and also how it evolved, and also the way it was handled by the administration, and where the funds have come from, and whether or not it might have involved triad elements, organizing and mobilizing the public and so on. And we should also review the impact of the incident on different aspects of life in Hong Kong, including economic impact and also other security issues. Well, in a community, there are many people who would like to know the reasons behind the incident. In a community, there are many people, including lawmakers, they are actually pointing fingers at one another. I think they are all focusing on 1 or 2 points. And from time to time, they like to stage a showdown. Do we want to see that? How many more people do we want to see taking to the streets? In fact, for many people that I know, they'd also like to express their stance, but then they don't like to resort to this kind of showdown or showdown. So we have to resolve this problem, and we have to set up a select committee. Yes, Mr. Ronnie Tong, Chairman, according to my understanding, all along, this council, in exercising its powers to investigate matters, we would be monitoring the performance of the administration or law enforcement agencies to see if they have abused their powers. I've never heard any member suggesting that we should set up a select committee to monitor the way members of the public exercise their powers to demonstrate or exercise their right to assembly and so on. So I'd like to know if there have been any precedents. So, Secretary, has there been any precedent of this council setting up select committees to check or investigate into members of the public exercising their basic rights? And when members of the public try to exercise their rights under the basic law to public assemblies, and if they are intimidated, and as a result their right is undermined, then is that something that we'd like to see, and as a representative council, I don't think that's something that we should do. Therefore, I'd like to urge Mr. Jeffrey Lam to look at his proposal. Can you clarify what you're proposing to do? Are we trying to look at the way the enforcement agencies or the administration might have abused their powers instead of the public exercising their right to assembly? So can I ask the Secretariat to clarify if there have been any such precedents? SG, in the past, when we investigated into the Chek Lap Kok New Airport incident, we did look into the performance of certain individuals, the decisions made by certain individuals. My question was, did we ever look into the way Hong Kong people exercise their rights to assembly or rights to expression in the past? According to my understanding, none. We have never done that. Mr. Jeffrey Lam. Chairman, I think the incident has had a huge impact on our community. We would like to know that for all the participants, they should be given a chance to come and give us their views. So, by undertaking this investigation, number one, we have to invite them to come and give us their views, and then we will compile a comprehensive report on the incident. As to whether or not there has been any precedent of the LegCo investigating into the work done by the public, I think in the Lehman Brothers incident, we also investigated into the products issued by some issuers, and we also invited some members of the public to come and tell us the way they were misled by the banks and so on. So this is nothing new, and this is not something that has never happened. Mr. Gary Fan, well, on the 5th of October, there were large numbers of suspected triad members going to Mong Kok to carry out criminal damage and also assaults and so on, and at least 45 members of the public were injured, and then some days later, some 39 individuals were arrested by the police, and they admitted that some of them were triad-related members, and the way the police dealt with this caused an outcry in the community. Number one, for the triads participating in the event, the scale of participation was very large. How come the administration or the police did not receive any tip-off in advance? Or is it that the police had received such tip-off, but then it had decided not to take action against them at all? And also, if you look at the number of police officers at the scene, obviously there was inadequate manpower. Was it a deliberate attempt on the part of the police not to take any action, or else why is it that there was inadequate police manpower there? And also, when those assailants assaulted the protesters, the police just stood by without taking action, and only after certain attacks did they try to separate the two groups, and then they were taken away, and then they were let off afterwards. And also, in dealing with such suspected triad members, there were problems. So is it that who were behind the masterminding of these events and attacks? And also, on the 28th of September, all right, there was a huge gap in a way they dealt with the demonstrators, because they fired tear gas against the peaceful demonstrators, and yet they condoned to the assaults or the attacks by the suspected triad members against the protesters. So I suggest that we should conduct a comprehensive investigation. Mr. Wong Kwok Heng, I speak in support of Mr. Jeffrey Lam's proposal. I'm against Mr. Raymond Wong's suggestion. There are several reasons. Number one, Mr. Jeffrey Lam suggested that there should be a comprehensive investigation. In fact, in terms of the scope and the scale of the investigation, that has already covered the proposal by Mr. Raymond Wong. That's why I believe that the proposal by Mr. Jeffrey Lam is a more comprehensive one. It covers the entire incident. And if we support Mr. Jeffrey Lam's proposal, there is no need for us to conduct a separate investigation as suggested by Mr. Raymond Wong. That's point number one. And number two, if you look at the proposal by Mr. Raymond Wong, there is a conflict of role, because as I can see on TV screens, Mr. Raymond Wong went to Mong Kok and he went there to support the protesters, and he was a participant, and he also made his views known. And of course, he is entitled to his own views, but then as a participant of the movement, he might have been one of the masterminds behind the movement. So if he now raised this motion, I think there is a conflict of role.
Third, the occupation has extended beyond Admiralty, and the 1015, 1016, they have been occupied. They've been turned into partitioned flats. They are supposed to be serving the members of the public. Why is it that there are people who are occupying these members' offices? Why don't they occupy the street if they want to occupy anything at all? Why are they occupying the electrical building? I think it warrants a full investigation. Mr. Yip Kwok Him. Chairman, thank you. I heard from my fellow councillors, and a lot of them talked about a peaceful demonstration. A lot of them are really peaceful, but I saw really violence. This is an illegal activity. This has paralyzed the traffic. If you look at Queensway, Connaught Road, I mean, the traffic has been ground to a halt. They're illegally occupying Mong Kok and Causeway Bay. I think everybody would be supportive of peaceful rallies and demonstrations. Otherwise, we would not be able to support any illegal activities. Mr. Raymond Wong is really portraying the situation in a biased manner. He is really suggesting that the police are acting in collusion with the triad societies. And this is a biased motion in itself. Conversely, Mr. Jeffrey Lam's motion is more comprehensive. We're asking for everything, including the police handling of the matter, to be covered. So we urge that a P&P committee be formed, as suggested by Mr. Jeffrey Lam. I don't think we can support Mr. Raymond Wong's suggestion. If we want to be impartial, we should think along those lines. Mr. Lee Choi-yen, Chairman, the Labour Party is in support of Mr. Raymond Wong's proposal. As you know, the last thing we want to see happen in Hong Kong is for the law enforcement agency to condone the triad elements. Now, whether this is the case, we should conduct an investigation. We should look at all the facts. Now, turning to Mr. Jeffrey Lam's proposal, the Labour Party is in opposition. It seems that Mr. Lam seems to be the MSS, the Ministry of State Security, that he's asking for the sources of funding to be investigated. And why is it that we saw what happened on the 28th of September? It wasn't really the organization of Occupy movement. It is a spontaneous movement. If you want to get to the bottom of the matter, I think it originated from the restrictive framework of the NPCSC and also C.Y. Leung's report to the NPC. Now, Mr. Lam is, on the contrary, suggesting that this spontaneous movement be investigated. If you really want to do so, there can be tens of thousands of witnesses that can come forward to testify. Are you going to investigate the sources of all these relief materials? There were people who were distributing ice to the protesters? Are you going to investigate into this? There are so much spontaneity there on the scene. Are you going to investigate every single one who is taking part? I think you're abusing the legislative power, and you are doing the Ministry of State Security a favor and collect intelligence. It would be really horrific because LegCo will be turned into an intelligence collection agency. Ms. Emily Lau. I support Mr. Raymond Wong's proposal to investigate the issue to do with the tri-elements. There were many questions that were raised. Why is it that they behave in such an organized manner? Why did they storm the peaceful demonstrators? Why did the police react so slowly? There were thugs, there were people who were arrested and then set free. This raised so many nagging doubts in people's mind. There were questions from the international media. I think there has to be an investigation. As regards Mr. Jeffrey Lam's proposal, I agree with the Vice Chairman. It seems to me that this is a white terror. People are really staging a demonstration peacefully, and tens of thousands of people turned out in an act of civil disobedience. Are you going to investigate where the money came from, what arrangement was made? Now, I think the international media will be interviewing you, Mr. Lam. I think this is wholly ridiculous. Why is it that you're invoking PNP to probe these demonstrators who are acting peacefully? And this has really done Hong Kong proud internationally. There are so many other jurisdictions where there was bloodshed. In Hong Kong, we just opened an umbrella in a peaceful and rational manner, and you're invoking this immense power to investigate. Now, you're saying that they should be invited to air their views. I'm sure a lot of people would be prepared to come and air their views. We should not invoke this PNP. What the PNP should be invoked for is to investigate the government officials who enjoy powers. Why do we have to investigate these unarmed protesters? We should not start this precedent. Dr. Priscilla Leung. The Occupy Central Movement is an illegal act. You can hide behind the pretense of peace and disrupt social order. By the end of September, the founders of Occupy Central Movement urged people to gather together illegally in Causeway Bay, Mong Kok, and the Admiralty. People were really raising a hue and cry, and the tertiary institutions have become politicized, and some teachers blatantly encouraged some underage secondary students to take part in these illegal assemblies. Some turned up in school uniforms, and a lot of parents are complaining to me that their kids turned up at school for the first day, and then they took part in these illegal assemblies. And a lot of them were led by teachers. In secondary schools, there were students who differ from their teachers, and they were subject to this feeling of white terror. Now, for these illegal assemblies, it was said that they were orchestrated by the US and the UK, and also the Taiwanese separatists. And Hong Kong has become polarized. And if you look at the family units, the schools, the workplaces, we have seen such divisiveness. The economy has been dealt a blow, and people are at the end of their tethers. A lot of people would like the LegCo to investigate these highly organized illegal assemblies, which have subject Hong Kong to these constant disruptions. And it is similar to the Scarlet Revolution, the storming the CGO and the police headquarters, and this should be investigated. Order, please. Please, order, please. Respect the meeting. Ms. Sitho, Chairman, I support Mr. Raymond Wong's motion. I hope that he will expand the scope because there were suggestions that those who attacked the demonstrators involved the off-duty policemen as well, and these people were arrested and then set free. It was documented on TV. For those who were arrested, it was confirmed that some of them do have a triad background. We support Mr. Wong's proposal. As regards Mr. Jeffrey Lam's proposal, I'd like to seek some clarification. Now, the members of the public are turning out to air their views. Why is it that they have to go to the front line at considerable risk? Why is it that the students have to come out in the open at such a risk? I urge that a public hearing be held at the panel meeting. It would be difficult for us to carry out an investigation. The commodities are there. They may have the invoices. And are you going to debar certain people from becoming witnesses? Chairman, if we want to find out about the causes of the Occupy movement, I think it should be for C.Y. Leung and Carrie Lam and the mainland to understand that. I think the causes, it was caused by the restrictive framework of the NPC, but if you want to probe them like they are criminals, then you have my objection. I think at the Constitutional Affairs panel, we can have a public hearing. We welcome tens of thousands of people coming here to air their views. Mrs. Regina Ip. Chairman, I'm sure that a lot of them turn up of their own volition, and they didn't use any violence. They were peaceful. But be that as it may, all these assemblies are illegal. We do have the photos as evidence. A lot of the barricades, the mills barriers, they were stolen. I heard that a lot of them were transported out of the protest zone by container trucks. A lot of them were used for the fireworks display on Canton Road, and I'm sure that all these activities were organized, that they should be investigated. Dr. Fernando Cheung, Chairman, if the acts portrayed by Mrs. Regina Ip should be investigated, then it would not be for the LegCo to investigate. We're not policemen. Why do we have to investigate the conduct of the members of the public? The LegCo is here to monitor the government, keep the government on its toes. I think we have to get this cleared up. Your responsibility is to speak for the government, and you are invoking the PNP against the members of the public to spread this white terror. Dr. Priscilla Leung is saying that we should investigate the schools, and everything is organized and orchestrated by the UK and the US. Do we have to summon the consul generals here to subject them to investigation? Now, this is really something spontaneous from the members of the public. The government is hiding, really. They used the tear gas, they used pepper spray, and that didn't work, and they turned to the trial elements. And it is not just the local media. The foreign media also talking about this event. They were talking about the collusion between the trial elements and the police. Now, this is a very serious allegation. So LegCo has the obligation to investigate this. If you want to investigate the conduct of the members of the public, I would urge the pro-establishment members to go out and talk to the protesters and understand from them how orderly they are, and also how they get all these commodities from the members of the public. You visit the public toilets, they're really clean. Do you think that the the major powers are really supplying the aftershave to them. Mr. Alan Leung, Chairman, the pro-establishment members are really manipulating the situation.
So there is a total collapse of protocol and rules and regulations. And the way they are doing it is really shocking. All right, if you just refer to Basic Law Article 73, this council has specific powers and responsibilities. So I'd like to ask Mr. Jeffrey Lam, under which duties are you proposing this here? And for those peaceful demonstrators, all right, Mr. Joshua Wong, he's been the he's the cover story of Time magazine in this latest edition, and he has actually been nominated by some to be the Nobel Peace Laureate. I think what we are doing here is ridiculous. Mr. Jeffrey Lam, I wonder if he has asked Mr. C.Y. Leung, our incumbent chief executive, so are you doing this as a slap on his face? So are you suggesting that he's not able to do his job properly? That's why we have to do it. All right, we have the separation of powers, and we have to do our job on our own. You should not be trampling on the work of the others. And also in terms of the jurisdiction and also in terms of the actual operation, I'd like to get the advice from the legal advisor. All right, you're actually invoking the powers under the Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance, and if the scope is so broad, then you don't know where it will stop and how many tens of thousands of people or witnesses are we summoning and so on. So whether or not it's looked at from the procedure or procedural angle and also from the perspective of separation of powers and so on, it's not feasible. The Civic Party is against this. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Thank you, Chairman. The Democratic Party is against the proposal by Mr. Jeffrey Lam, and the reasoning is very simple. This is a peaceful and rational movement, and it's a civil disobedience act. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of people coming to the Central Government Office and Harcourt Road to assemble to protest against the administration's governance. For a very long time, there has been a public outcry against the maladministration by the government, and yet Mr. Jeffrey Lam is trumping up charges against this movement, saying that there have been foreign influence or foreign governments masterminding everything and so on. All right, if this is not a trumped up charge, what is it? So these are masses protesting against the work of the government, and if you say that there must have been somebody manipulating everything, somebody masterminding this and so on, I think is a blatant neglect of the freedom of speech and freedom of assembly by the public. Secondly, if there are unlawful acts, then the police have the power to enforce the law, and indeed, every participant of the movement, every member of the public understands the principle of a civil disobedience act. In other words, we are prepared to be arrested and be subject to judicial penalties. And that's the way we protest against the government in order to fight for genuine universal suffrage without screening. So I think Mr. Jeffrey Lam's proposal is totally unwarranted and is uncalled for. Ms. Helena Wong, I suggest that we should investigate into the Mong Kok incident and also the use of force against peaceful demonstrators. So if we can have a select committee looking into it, of course, I would be prepared to support it. With regard to Mr. Jeffrey Lam's proposal, I'd like to state my staunch opposition to it. As some members have said, in fact, it's not feasible. There is no way that it will work. All right, if Mr. Jeffrey Lam and the pro-establishment camp are so concerned about this, I appeal to you to go out to the road at 8 o'clock this evening. All right, there will be a rally this evening, and then all you need to do is to go to go out and talk to the students who have asked you to come out or come forward, and who have provided you with the food and so on. All right, we all attach importance to the orderly conducting of life and so on. But then please do not smear the campaign and movement saying that it's an organized movement. All right, all these are statements made in Ta Kung Pao and Wen Wei Pao. All right, the only thing that you can look into is the way the administration has dealt with the incident and also all the related matters. I think this is too broadly worded. So are you going to look into the way those anti-Occupy movements, have they been paid $300 to assault people? And also, there might be hundreds of thousands of people participating in the movement. Are you going to summon them all here? So you're actually paralyzing this council. Are we going to meet with all the hundreds of thousands of demonstrators? And all you need to do is to go out there, and then on the street you can see slips of papers stating the wishes of the people. And then all you need to do is to go out and take a look, and then you know why they are taking to the streets and why they are staying in the streets throughout the night. Dr. Kwok Kak-Ki, I support that we should invoke the Powers and Privileges Ordinance. I think Mr. Jeffrey Lam is outrageous and ridiculous in proposing this, because we are elected members. We are supposed to monitor the work of the government. Under Article 73 of the Basic Law, if you look at the 10 duties of this council, the most important thing is to monitor public bodies and the government, and if we have to censure them, what needs to be done is to investigate into C.Y. Leung for suspected bribery and also his not doing his job properly and so on. So our basic duty in this council is to find out, all right, for those who have taken part in the movement, they are fighting for true democracy and genuine universal suffrage. And what we should be doing is to strive to revert the NPCSC decision so that we can restart the 5-step procedure. I think what the pro-establishment camp is doing is against the wish of people. All right, this is an elected legislature, and the guy who should be summoned should be C.Y. Leung, Mrs. Carrie Lam. And yesterday when I heard her, she said she's an outsider. All right, she's calling herself a lay person. This is ridiculous. I think this is an insult to the public. Since when has the electoral powers and privileges been used to find out who is funding the movement and who is masterminding this? All right, we have 200,000 people taking to the streets, and if you have to investigate into this, then we'll call upon all the 200,000 participants to come to this council to give evidence as to why they have been mobilized and where has the funds come from. All right, I funded this, and therefore everybody who has funded the movement should come forward. Ms. Darili, this is the largest scale unlawful assembly, and therefore I support Mr. Jeffrey Lam's proposal to investigate into it. It has lasted for more than 10 days now, and there is still no end in sight. And therefore, this council has the duty to look into it. All right, everybody is saying that the assembly is peaceful. I can see that many demonstrators are very peaceful, but then for the organizer behind it, they are not motivated by peaceful motives, and they are trying to occupy the streets, and they are trying to paralyze the traffic, and they are trying to paralyze Hong Kong. So this is not a peaceful motive, and they are trying to intimidate the government and also the central authorities. I was also shocked because many from the opposition camp said that investigating into the OCM would be objectionable because there is no reason why we should investigate into those who funded the movement and so on. In fact, we do not have any preconceived idea about this. As you can see from the press reports, all right, this is a Hong Kong version of a color revolution, and actually the script was written in the US. That's the allegation out there. And if you're confident that this is not the case, then why are you not prepared to allow those who are involved to come and give evidence so that everybody will have a clear picture as to how this has happened and also where the funds have come from and where the supplies have come from. So if you are so confident, then why are you not prepared to allow this council to investigate into this unlawful assembly of Occupy Central Movement? This is an unlawful assembly. So why can't we investigate into it as to whether or not we have to summon the hundreds of thousands of demonstrators here? So let's not forget about the Lehman Brothers incident. So we did not summon all the persons involved. So all we need to do is to summon a certain proportion of those involved, and that's what we need to do. So please have confidence in this council. So whoever wants to express their views, I think we have to give them a clear picture as to what has happened. Mr. Charles Peter Mock. All right, the PNP is the trump card, and we should save it for the ultimate. We should save it until it's most urgently needed. All right, for the Hong Kong TV incident, we've been told that it's not necessary. So apparently, this is not a trump card against the government. This is a trump card against the people. So the only reason is that you're the pro-establishment camp. You have to do everything to defend the government. All right, you've been calling it an unlawful or illegal movement. All right, are you the police? Are you the court? So why do you think you have the right to call it an unlawful movement? All right, whether or not they have moved the barricades, whether or not they have occupied the streets, it should have been the police who should be investigating into it. So why do we have to usurp the power by investigating into it? Obviously, that's because you are trying to monitor the people. You're not monitoring the government. So next time when there is an election, every citizen in Hong Kong must remember this. All right, these are people who are monitoring you. They are not monitoring the government. So whatever they say that they are going to monitor the government, please don't trust them. Okay. If you're invoking the Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance under this motion, and if the Pan-Democrats are invoking this by raising a movement, so what about investigating into where Raymond or Robert Chow got his money from, and also the anti-Occupy activists who have organized them? So you're actually going against the people, you're actually going against the public, so you have enough votes and you can always pass the motion moved by you, and Raymond Wong's motion will not be passed. So members of the public, please see clearly, and next time when there is an election, you will have to repay them with your votes. I have to correct you, it's Robert Chow, not Robert Zhang. And you're monitoring, and you mispronounce the Chinese, right? Raymond Chan. Thank you, Chairman. I speak in support of Raymond Wong's motion. In fact, Raymond Wong's motion is a very practical and restrained one. It's feasible because all he's trying to do is to investigate into the triad attacks on the demonstrators on the 5th of October. Is very clearly worded and is also feasible. Wall Street Journal had a headline story saying that Hong Kong police reputation as the best police force in Asia has been severely undermined because the reporter heard the police say that, all right, it's not that I don't want to help you, but then I'll have to wait till the rioters have attacked you for a longer time before I'll take action. So are they colluders of the rioters on the 3rd of October or what? So we need to get an answer for that. I'm sure many people would like to get the answer too. So we would also like to find out whether or not the liaison office was involved, and some even allege that rioters and triads from Shenzhen are also involved. And Raymond Wong was said to be a participant in the movement. That's why there is a conflict of interest, and therefore he should not be allowed to move this motion. In fact, for peaceful demonstrators who have been assaulted by the police, does that mean that we cannot raise or file a complaint? Or even us, if we are attacked, then we cannot raise this motion. In fact, Raymond Wong's motion is very simple. All right, all you need to do is to get CY Leung and Andy Zhang, and then they can arrest Benny Tai, and even for lawmakers who have participated in the movement, they stand ready to be arrested. So all you need to do is to ask CY Leung to arrest all of them. All right, we would not raise objections. So you can make arrests and then we can start the investigation right away. So this is the most practical way out. Yes, Leung Sing. With regard to the question asked by the Deputy Chairman, actually I read Basic Law Article 73, para 6, to debate any issue concerning public interest, and I think Mr. Jeffrey Lam has moved this motion because the movement has given rise to public security concerns and public interest concerns. That's why I think it's justified under Article 73 of the Basic Law. So we are not trying to target certain members of the public. We are talking about incidents involving public interest.
As regards the invocation of PNP, we in Hong Kong, there are lots of people who are complaining about the road blockades, and I hope that members would be concerned about the traders. There are some members of the public who said that if they are peaceful and rational, can they barge into your home and sit around there for one day in a peaceful and rational manner? I mean, if they do so, is it really acceptable to you? In Hong Kong, a lot of people are having their interests undermined, and that they may be peaceful and rational, and those who are complaining about the impact, they are also peaceful and rational. There is a conflict of interest, and some members who are really pocketing the money, and they deny having pocketed the money. Thank you. Mr. Yu Siwing. Well, the Occupy movement has affected Hong Kong's economy and our daily life every single day. They are suffering a great deal. And this is affecting the interests of every single member of the community. We heard a lot of rumors from the web and from the newspapers. And the people of Hong Kong would like to find out about the truth. Is it the case that somebody is behind the scene? It was said that the police dealt with the tri-elements improperly, and Ms. Wong is proposing this motion. Some others said that there are media organizations that pushing the Occupy movement. There are others who suggested that Hong Kong is used as a platform to attack the mainland. Now, there are rumors swirling around. We'd like to find out whether someone is doing anything shady in Hong Kong. So I support what Mr. Jeffrey Lam proposes. We should invoke the powers and privileges ordinance to get to the bottom of the matter. I don't think the Pan Democrats should be worried. We're not investigating the organizers. We are investigating the police and the government to ascertain whether they have done the job properly. Mr. Lo Wai Kwok, some Pan Democrats said that the LegCo is here to monitor the government. If you look at Article 73 of the Basic Law, there are 10 items there under 73. We enact and amend laws. We look at the budget, approve the budget. We approve taxation and public expenditure. We raise questions on the work of the government. Now, and also to debate on issues concerning public interest. Number 8, to receive and handle complaints from Hong Kong residents. A lot of Pan Democrats members are raising these urgent questions, and they are free to do so. Now, setting up a select committee is also one of the means. Number 10, under 73, to summon, as required when exercising the above powers and functions, persons concerned to testify and give evidence. I don't think you should jump to the conclusion that we are going to have to summons every single one. Now we can summons the supporters and objectives of the Occupy movement. Mr. Wong would like to have a select committee to investigate the situation. I think Mr. Lam's motion is sufficiently all-encompassing. We can look into the way in which the government handled the matter and all the relevant issues. Why do you have to be so worried? We should be objective, even if this is going ahead. The details will still have to be threshed out. Mr. Albert Ho. Chairman, I heard all the members who spoke in support of Mr. Jeffrey Lam's motion, and I find these really astounding. Well, I find it really unbelievable that we heard arguments at this really level. Now, the purpose of the system is to keep the government, the public bodies in checks. As electoral members, we should be concerned about the civil society. If there are illegal activities, I think it would be for the law enforcement agency to discharge their duty. As to why they cannot enforce the law or why they cannot enforce the law effectively, there are a lot of acts that occupy the street in civil disobedience. Why doesn't the government enforce the law? Now, the government is really becoming the enemy of the public, and they are really very timid. And they have to rely on these pro-establishment councillors to speak in defense of them. And they are relying on these members to do all these pointless things to carry out the investigation. Now you can mutter the same lines used by Tai Kung-pao and Wan Wei-pao about the foreign forces. If you want the members of the public to come here to testify, you should not do anything as silly as that. In Mongkok, people got the perception that the police were really contracting out the job to the Choi elements. Mr. Martin Liao, the purpose of having a select committee under PNP is not to monitor the government. It is intended to find out the truth about issues of public concerns. I mean, this is under Article 78. Now, there are 3 points I'd like to make. Since the Occupy movement occurred, we have seen massive occupation of Hong Kong streets, and this is this has been going on for 13 days. We've never seen anything like that. 7 million people's lives were disrupted severely. And this really has caused a severe impact. Because of the interests involved, I think we should invoke the PNP to look into the matter, including investigation. Second, the invocation of the PNP should not be used as a political weapon. We should not use the PNP to legitimize our preconceived ideas, because this will be putting the cart before the horse. PNP is there to enable us to find out the truth about issues of great significance to society, so that we can understand the causes, and this can also serve as an example for the future. Third, LegCo is here for the interest of Hong Kong. The invocation of the PNP should be fair. We should not conduct partial investigation. We should have full investigation. If we're investigating the law enforcers, without investigating those advocating these illegal acts, it would not be fair. Mr. K.K. Fong, Chairman. Mr. Raymond Wong, order, please. Mr. Raymond Wong, it's not time for you to speak. Please do not disrupt the proceeding of the meeting. Mr. K.K. Fong, Chairman, I speak in support of Mr. Wong and in opposition to Mr. Lam. If you look at the whole issue, we saw on TV that the police were really standing there without handling the situation when there was some confrontation between the two sides, and they arrested people and then set them free straight away. We saw these beefy guys with tattoos on them storming the demonstrators, and they were using coercion. They caused commotion and trouble. I think we should conduct an investigation. Beg your pardon. Why did the police allow this to happen? I beg to differ with Mr. Jeffrey Lam. The PNP is here to monitor the government. The government does things in orderly manner, and it is the obligation of LegCo to keep the executive authorities in checks and balances. Now, we cannot and we should not investigate into the civil society, because if we do so, it would take at least 10 years for us to do the job without being able to achieve anything at all. It would be a job for the government entirely. Or anybody else for the first round? Mr. Paul Chair. Chairman, thank you. Chairman, what we are facing is a crisis that we've never seen since the dawn of Hong Kong. And as LegCo members, we should be exercising restraint instead of adding to the trouble. For the two motions, now while this is still raging, I don't think we should jump to any conclusion prematurely. There was said a moment ago that the movement cannot be stopped. Nobody knows how soon it's going to end. I don't think we should have any trial of the war criminals before a war has ended, or even before SARS epidemic has come to an end. We should not investigate what the doctors have done. I think some of the members have been really in the cold for too long, and they're really jumping at this opportunity. I am concerned that while the issue is still raging, we should not really get headlong into this. Mr. Wong's motion is too narrow. Mr. Lam's motion is too broad. Mr. Wong is looking at the 3rd of October, what the police did. He ignored all the difficulties facing the police. If we couch it in such narrow terms, now we do have the IPCC, the security panel and so on can handle them. Mr. Lam's motion has really fudged the focus. Now we are basically looking at the blunders committed by the executive authorities, and the members of the public can be the witnesses. Now today we don't have any specific targets for investigation, and it doesn't really make any sense. So I hope the members will hold their proposal for the time being until a little bit later. Dr. N. Cheung. Well, if we haven't done anything wrong, we should not be worried about anything at all. Mr. Lam is proposing this motion, and this is really broad. We're not saying that there should be any specific targets. Some said that here in this council, some members were involved, they were behind the scene. Some others went so far as to say that some councillors used their own ward officers as the command center. Now, if we can set up this select committee, then all these members who are being accused can restore their innocence. Now, this is a significant event in the history of Hong Kong. It is also a significant event in the international community.
So the proposal to set up the select committee, if it's rejected, then is it that you have something to hide? That's why you don't want the truth to come out. So I support the proposal by Mr. Jeffrey Lam to set up the select committee. Thank you. Next, Mr. Chen Kin-po. All right, for the Occupy Central movement, is supposed to be a peaceful, rational, and voluntary movement, and supposedly it would end in a couple of days. And now it has been turned into a large-scale disobedience movement, and it has caused a severe rift in the community. That's why the community is polarized. All right, for those in support of the movement, you may not be able to see the plight of the millions of people who have been hijacked by the incident. All right, I have more friends who are anti-Occupy Central. All right, they are really outraged. They are very upset about this, and the reason why they dare not speak out against it is that police officers are supposed to enforce the law, and yet even when they try to deliver food items and supply items into CGO, they also have to be checked, and they don't know who these people are. Everybody can stand there, and they actually have walkie-talkie to communicate with one another. What's the difference between them and the rioters? I don't know. All right, if everybody agrees that they are peaceful and rational, then I do not understand it. I'm puzzled. All right, can you imagine that these drivers have been hijacked? When they drive, they have to be checked, and in fact, the entire community is being hijacked by these demonstrators. If we continue like that, then there will be no democracy at all, because central authorities will be forced to take action against it. So all we want is gradual progress. That's why I support Mr. Jeffrey Lam's proposal, because we're trying to find out or get to the root of the problem. And the OCM organizers will have to explain why they have to organize this movement in the first place. And Mr. Raymond Wong's proposal is too narrowly worded. Mr. Tam Yu Chung, the entire movement is against the law, and even the Bar Association issued a statement recently pointing out that this is an unlawful assembly. And Mr. Raymond Wong is trying to set up a select committee to investigate into police actions. We believe that that's not appropriate, because for many people who have taken part in the illegal or unlawful event, they have pointed their fingers at the police officers. This is not fair. And Mr. Jeffrey Lam feels that this incident has had far-reaching implications for the entire community. That's why we have to take a comprehensive look into this, and we support that. As for people who are concerned that this might be too broad, then let's not worry, because once this is set up, then usually we'll try to work out the specific scope of the investigation. We will set out the terms of reference, and then we will be narrowing the scope of the investigation. The way he has worded it, that's because he'd like to word it as broad as possible so that we have more room to maneuver. As to those who would like to invoke the PNP, they are very excited about this every time when they try to do it. But then on this occasion, the reason that they used against this, all right, they have repeatedly talked about this. For example, they said that number one, we should not investigate into it because this is a civil movement. But then it has an impact on the entire community. There is an impact on public order, is a public concern. Why can't we investigate into it? And secondly, they said that there is no way that we can get to the root of the problem. Well, we haven't started the investigation, and how come you are already saying that we will not be able to get to the root of the problem. And third, they said that there are hundreds of thousands of participants and we cannot possibly interview every one of them. In fact, we can also select some of them. All right, all you need to do is to give them a platform to express their views, and after the investigation, your names can be cleared. All right, that's the argument that they used in the past. How come you're not using the same argument this time? Yes, Christopher Chiang. All right, I've heard the Pan-Democrats say their remarks just now. All right, they've been saying that the demonstration is peaceful in nature. Yes, many students are peaceful and they are fighting for their ideals. But then even if it's peaceful, you cannot occupy public roads and you cannot take up public resources. You cannot block public traffic, paralyzing the entire community. And people are trapped in congestion and they have to spend a lot of time in traffic congestion, and as a result of that, many things cannot business is not as usual. So if they think that they are peaceful, then why can't they just identify a location where they can express their views freely and they can still fight for their ideals? Why do they have to paralyze the traffic? Why do they have to prevent shops from their operations? And as a result, our economy has suffered a great deal. And from the TV screens, you can see shots and scenes whereby people have tried to attack police front lines. So it's not something that students expressing their views and trying to fight for their ideals would be doing. So these are the acts of the rioters. So with regard to the OCM, I think there are a lot of uncertainties. There are a lot of things that we do not know about. That's why I hope that we can pass this motion so that we can have a public hearing to find out more about the event, what has actually happened. As regards why people are questioning why this has to be done in this council, why this council has to investigate into it. In fact, the occupiers or the demonstrators have already prevented the community from its normal operation. That's why we have to find out more about this. Yes, Wong Kwok Hin. All right, for the two PNP motions, well, when I take a look at the two motions, Mr. Raymond Wong's motion can be subsumed under Jeffrey Lam's motion. So, if we approve Jeffrey Lam's motion, then we'll be able to look into police handling of the event as well. All right, the OCM has taken place for many days now, and the entire community has suffered. The Pan-Democrats are using the students as a shield. All right, they are saying that over 200,000 have participated. How can we look into it? Well, we are actually investigating the organizers and the masterminds, and of course the Pan-Democrats might have taken part into it, and they might have been the masterminds behind the scene. That's why they are afraid of it. And if you don't have anything to hide, then why are you afraid of it? So we are finding out why have we had this incident in the first place, and for what reason is somebody doing this? Why have they stirred up the trouble, causing so much disruption to the order of the community? So we are not investigating the 200,000 participants. All right, some actually threatened that, well, you have to pay a price for it in the next election. In fact, they have smeared us. They are pitching the participants against us. All right, I dare to challenge you. You don't dare to take part in direct elections. All right, you are only prepared to speak out, and how dare you challenge me that I would be paying a price for that in the next election. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, for those in favor of invoking the PNP legislation, you may not understand it. Well, unless the OCM wins or prevails, then everybody will be facing criminal prosecution. Because as we all know, well, what we are doing today is in breach of the law and we would be subject to arrest and prosecution later, I'll try my best so that in the criminal trial, I'll be stating my own case. I'll be defending myself. I'll not be hiring a lawyer. So if you want to investigate me, I am ready for that. So I would not hide behind anything. But then I just query your ethics. All right, Raymond Wong wants to investigate into the police handling of the incident. Well, the police officers would not be arresting or prosecuting their wrong people. That's why we have to invoke the PNP legislation. I think this is our inherent duty to monitor the work of the government. And I think this has a lot to do with people's livelihood. We are talking about Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance. If you dare, you can just do it. I'm not afraid of it at all. So I'm not afraid of it at all. I don't even mind if I have to vote in favor of your motion. All right, please don't think that you always prevail. All right, the Communist Party doesn't want to clear the site. All right, people downstairs will hear it, will listen to what you're saying. So you don't always have the last laugh. All right, if you want the matter to be resolved peacefully, then you will have to think about your manners and how you behave today. I'm intimidating you. Yes, that's right. I'm intimidating you. The OCM will not stop. Even if you try to invoke 10 PNPs, there is no way that you can stop it. There is no way that you can terminate it. The Communist Party is watching. If you dare, you can just investigate. All right, are you going to investigate into the Blue Ribbon campaign? So, do you dare to investigate into the Blue Ribbon campaign as well? Leung Kwok Hong, your time is up. Leung Kwok Hong, your time is up. Leung Kwok Hong, please do not scream and yell here. Your time is up. Do you dare to do it? Leung Kwok Hong, I'm warning you. If you do that again, I'll say that you are misbehaving yourself. Kenneth Chan, Chairman, I've read the motion moved by Jeffrey Lam. The first one to be invited to come should be C.Y. Leung or even our President Xi Jinping. And if you have to look at what happened since September the 28th as to how the matter evolved and also the political economic background to the whole incident, then it involves the state machinery and also the central authorities, how they have dealt with the conflicts arising from the one country, two systems principle. Just now, when the pro-establishment camp said, apparently they have this inner devil. That is, you will have to read the global daily and also Ta Kung Pao, Wen Wei Bao. That's why they've repeatedly said something that they themselves do not believe. They have made remarks that they themselves do not believe in. So they are creating this white terror. In fact, at this time in Hong Kong, what we need is a solution to resolve the deep-seated conflicts. And yet the motion in itself is adding fuel to the whole thing. Mrs. Carrie Lam and the HAFS were striving to start a dialogue. They are trying to find a basis for the starting of a dialogue, and yet within this council, the pro-establishment camp, which is controlling the powers of this council, are doing otherwise. In fact, in particular, Mr. Jeffrey Lam is one from the pro-establishment camp, and Starry Lee, who is an EXCO member, are also doing exactly the opposite. So are you trying to adopt this two-pronged approach? On the one hand, you said that you would like to have a dialogue with the students, and yet on the other, you are trying to stifle the movement. So I find this disgusting, and I'm against it. Who else would like to speak in the first round? If not, then second round. Mrs. Regina Ip. Chairman, many pan-democratic members saying that for the suspected foreign forces supporting the OCM, they are actually from Wen Wei Bao and Da Kong Bao. Have you noticed that there is Land Destroyer, which is a U.S. think tank? Louis Cartolucci wrote many articles. And Hong Kong has to be aware of stage violence.
Occupy Central protest scripted in Washington. 有多篇文章咧講佔中搞手。
So many articles have said that the OCM organizers have received funding from the National Democratic Institute and also U.S. think tanks. So do we have to investigate into it? We will have to ask if the administration is aware of that. Has the CMAB conducted any investigation? Have they found out that? And student leaders might have received funding. So has that got to do with the OCM and also for the barricades? Sorry, your time is up. Priscilla Leung, Chairman. What is most worrying about this illegal assembly is that there are many underage. They are kids and they are joining the movement and they are actually underage and they are standing at the front line of this political saga and they are actually saying that they are going to occupy police headquarters and also the CGO and so on. These are really very perilous behavior. So please, do not stand in the way of allowing the pro-establishment camp from speaking out their mind. In fact, we have received a lot of complaints from the community. In fact, they are victims of the movement, and the OCM has created or has victimized many people. Are you aware of them? Are you aware of that? They would also like us to speak out on their behalf so that there needs to be a platform for the conflicts to be resolved. So it's not just about the conflict between the government and the masses. There are also conflicts between different groups in the community.
Ms. Helena Wong. Chairman, I think Dr. Priscilla Leung is looking at the students like parents. Now, how many students came here at the instigation of other people? They do have independent thinking. They're not as naive as you think they are. I think if you believe that there is a member, there is an organization that can orchestrate such a massive movement, then you don't understand a thing about this movement. Pro-establishment members, if you're concerned about social order, there are two things you can do. First, you should release more information so that CY Leung can step down. Second, you should urge the NPCSC to retract the repressive framework. And I guarantee you that the students will go home straight away. Mr. Paul Jay. Well, both sides are really locked in a fight. We should really cool down the whole thing instead of adding fuel to fire and feel the tension. If there are blunders like those committed by the police, there are plenty of opportunities going forward to deal with them. I think it is blatantly clear that there are illegal acts involved. Everybody knows about it, including Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. I think we have to mend this divisiveness instead of staging all these theatrics and feeling the situation. We should calm down. We should let cool heads prevail instead of feeling the tension. Mr. Mok, well, I'm not saying that they're not committing any illegal acts. Now, Mrs. Regina Ip talked about a land destroyer. This is only one single American, and he's calling his own blog as a think tank, and you are using the articles and play this up. This is one single American based in Thailand, and you think that this is really something wonderful. I think you have to look at the sources on the web. We have to tell the kids that we have to be careful about what they find on the web. We should not really taking everything down from the internet. Now you can take everything that suits a purpose, like the Taikung Power and One-Way Power. You have to understand what think tank we are talking about, that this is only one single American who is based in Thailand. Mr. Alan Leung. Chairman, I hope members will understand that by invoking the PNP to investigate into the civil society, and this is not something that we should start this precedent. Today, we may be investigating Robert Chow. Tomorrow, we can investigate Letitia Lee. And day after tomorrow, we can investigate the national education activists. And day after tomorrow, we can investigate those involved in these peaceful assemblies. And I don't think we should abuse the PNP like that. I look forward to hearing from the legal advisor. I did raise a question earlier on. With a motion couched in such broad terms, is LegCo really racing to the bottom and becoming part of the administration? We have separation of powers. And Cap 382, can we define the scope under such a broad motion? Mr. Michael Tin, I'm speaking for the first time. 2 minutes, please. Chairman, I think it is really paradoxical what we are talking about today. I thought that the Pan Democrats would like to narrow down the PNP scope as much as possible. Today it is rather strange. I go along with Mr. Paul Tse that there are so many problems in Hong Kong. The police are really working flat out. They don't have all the manpower they need. Now there are 4 questions that have to do with the police. And once we are done with the questions, we should have found out a lot more about the situation. If we have to invoke the PNP to tackle the police to the exclusion of other people, then I find it very strange. Now, why is it that we don't cover other stakeholders as well? Now, you talked about the organization and the spontaneity. Objectively, the yellow ribbons and the blue ribbons, there was organization, there was spontaneity. We're not suggesting that we should investigate into those who act spontaneously. Now, for those who are organizing things, there are allegations about what these organizations behind the scene are. Now, we should investigate both. If things are organized, or whether it is the blue ribbons or the yellow ribbons, we should investigate them. Is it the case that they are doing this for the sake of one person, one vote, or do they have another ulterior motive to destabilize Hong Kong, to grind Hong Kong into a halt? If we have to conduct the investigation, we should not really target at the police alone. Mr. Raymond Wong, you have the last word. Later on, Mr. Ip Kwok Him. Chairman, I've been involved in a lot of select committees before. The work of the select committee is to probe matters of concern to the members of the public. There may be issues involving the maladministration. Now, we should find out about the situation and get hold of as much information as possible so that we can identify room for improvement. Some members said that we are probing the civil society, and I don't think they have a leg to stand on their arguments. The purpose of a select committee is really to do what I said it should do. Ms. Claudia Mbo, Chairman, thank you. I hope that members should be truthful to the news and also history. The most really dramatic scene was the use of tear gas. Now, there were a lot of protesters flooding into Harcourt Road. It was a Sunday afternoon. The police stopped people using the MTR at Admiralty. They were not allowed to come across to the Tamar to fight for universal suffrage. The police might have got the calculation wrong, and the people descended on Harcourt Road. They thought that by using the tear gas, people would be scared away, but it backfired on them. Because of the pandemonium in Admiralty, people spontaneously started the assembly in Mong Kok and blocked the roads. I was in Mong Kok on 5 occasions for a number of hours. Every single day, I didn't see a single policeman on patrol. But when the ugly scene flared up, in which some suspected Try elements stormed the crowd, they moved in on the peaceful demonstrators. The police said that it took them an hour to travel to Mong Kok, and this is wholly unfair statement. Now, you want to investigate into this civil action. The June 4th incident took place 20-odd years ago. Do we have to investigate into that? What about the July 1st rally? It's been going on for about 10 years at least. Should we investigate into it? Mr. Albert Ho. Chairman, this proposal by Mr. Jeffrey Lam has a lot of presumptions. He is assuming that there is a certain source of funding behind the scene, and there are a lot of orchestration behind the scene. I am mystified about this. Certainly in future there would be a lot of findings emerging going forward. Without any evidence, you are suggesting that this really broad investigation. Now, Mrs. Regina Ip's statement is really laughable. NED does offer some funding for training. The DAB, the pro-establishment, also got this funding. I wouldn't say that you would be, you are the lackeys of the U.S. government. So please speak knowledgeably. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan. Mr. Michael Tien said a moment ago that the Pan Democrats would like the PNP very much. Now, normally we would suggest the PNP be revoked to investigate into government acts, not civil society. Mr. Lam is so ridiculous as to abuse the PNP to investigate the civil society. That if you start down this path, there will be no end in sight. Are you going to investigate into every single act that happens in the civil society? Are you going to investigate the Triad Society's involvement, the Blue Ribbons, and also are you going to investigate into the fact that some protesters got paid to turn up? Are you going to investigate Robert Chow's rallies? I don't really want Hong Kong to. I don't really want to see Hong Kong descend into this level. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, Chairman. For us to conduct investigation, we ought to have prima facie evidence. I've heard what Mr. Lam had to say. He advanced some evidence, and I think a lot of what he said is really hearsay and rumors. And this would start a very, very bad precedent for Hong Kong, because we can carry out investigation on the basis of rumors and hearsays. Now, this is a movement of civil disobedience. For these illegal acts, the government and the police should take legal action themselves. But here in Let's Go, in absence of any evidence, if we are trying to investigate into the sources of funding and the intrusion of foreign forces, and what are we going to achieve? I think this will turn us into a laughing stock. Mr. Zhong, Chairman, I think we have to think carefully about this. It may turn out that some members are receiving donations from overseas. It may emerge that some political crooks may be collecting money from our side. We don't have to worry. We're not starting the investigation yet. Well, we may turn up a lot of stuff, a lot of nasty stuff. It may emerge that some money is behind this Occupy movement, and they're pushing the students to the front line and put them in harm's way. So I don't think we should carry out the investigation, because we may turn up something really, really nasty. That the Democratic granny may be colluding with the foreign forces, and she may be collecting money from our side, and she's pocketing all this money. We may turn up all these facts about this. So we have to think twice about the investigation, because this is a crisis for the Democrats.
So they are really scared because they have done a lot. And they are thinking that I'm afraid. In fact, when I came back this morning, I was also intimidated, and well, I was asked if I needed a security guard to come with me. Well, I said that I'm not scared, but in fact, I was really worried because the entire place is under your control. So on what basis are you claiming that you can investigate or inspect police vehicles and also ambulances? That's why they are really afraid. All right, think twice about it, Chairman. Do we really want to investigate the matter? Yes. In fact, I've been to Mong Kok, and I've talked to the OCM demonstrators with regard to what is happening. They are fully aware of that. They admitted that it's against the law. It's not like what the Pan-Democrats have been doing. They are packaging it with peacefulness, saying that it's a peaceful demonstration. Please do not try to cheat the kids by saying that this is a peaceful movement. We have to distinguish the truth from the lies. So apparently law-abiding seems to be the last thing that you mind about. And I understand that many young people have come forward on their own volition. But then from the very beginning, not all of them have done so on their own volition because of some biased clippings and also some fake pictures and so on. So these who have been masterminding these rumors, so have they got to the whole truth of the whole thing? And if you're able to know the full picture, then you will understand that it's not just about one or two scenes. So who created those rumors in the first place? We have to find out. And also for those demonstrators, in fact, they enjoy this privilege. They are able to stay overnight in this council building. So is it that there are many masterminds, so just a handful of them will be able to wreak havoc? That's why I support Jeffrey Lam's motion. Thank you. All right. Hip Kin Yun speaking for the first time, 3 minutes. Yes, one of the critical matter that we have to consider is the law itself. The Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance, the scope and purpose of the bill, of the ordinance. What is it supposed to be used for? That's why I try to seek the clarification from the legal advisor. So what should we be doing? Should we get the advice from the legal advisor first, or shall we continue with our remarks first? Okay, so he will speak after all of us have spoken. I think it's a very important clarification because that will make it a lot easier for us to make up our mind. And also, On this particular issue, many members said that OCM is an unlawful assembly. That's why we have to investigate. Well, in fact, even for the organizers of the event, they are fully aware of the fact that, yes, they'll have to pay a price for that. They will have to shoulder the legal responsibility for that. That's why that should not be the justification for kickstarting this investigation under the Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance. And then if this is not the basis, then the other issues seem to be peripheral issues, for example, the funding of the movement and so on. So that would be a dangerous approach. So please think twice about whether or not you like to invoke the PNP ordinance just for that. So do we really want to broaden the scope of the ordinance like that? All along, the powers under the PNP ordinance should be used to monitor any possible abuse of power by the administration. So that's what we are supposed to do under the law. With regard to police power or whether or not it has been abused, I think that's the main purpose of the law. Thank you. Ms. Sito, I suggest that Christopher Chung, well, once again, please do not daydream on your office. So you've come up with things that are not based on facts, all right, to explain why so many people come forward to join the OCM movement. Well, I am in support of that. That's why we would like to open this platform for the demonstrators downstairs to speak their voices here. In fact, they'd like to speak to the pro-establishment camp. Just 3 minutes will not be enough. They'd like to debate with you. It's like what we've been doing in our public hearings after they have all spoken. Then the floor will be open so that there can be questions by both sides to the other. And then if we are able to do that, then we'll be able to get to the bottom of the truth. In fact, hundreds of thousands of people do not have that chance to speak out. But then what we are most concerned about is that you'll be speaking like bureaucrats and you're trying to intimidate them when you have this hearing. Ms. Alice Mack? Well, Chairman, many members are thinking that they fully understand the thoughts of the OCM demonstrators or protesters. All right, you guarantee that this or that will happen. In fact, when people come forward or take to the streets on their own volition, then please do not think that you are the spokesperson for them. All right, you're challenging us to listen to what they have to say. In fact, I can also tell you that my family members have joined, and in fact, they stayed there overnight. That's why I understand their thinking. I understand what's in their mind. Yes, in fact, my family members also went to Mongkok to join the demonstrations. In fact, they used foul language against the representatives. In fact, they said that they are doing ridiculous things. But then, on this occasion, Jeffrey Lam is suggesting that we should investigate into the handling of the incident by law enforcement agencies and so on. All right, they claim to be a peaceful movement. How come it has degenerated into something that is causing a lot of disruption to our lives? And all right, some suggested that or query, do we want to interview all the 200,000 participants? Well, please don't make jokes about this. All right, we'll come up with the terms of reference of the select committee. So please don't suggest that it's not feasible unless they have something to hide. They don't want people to know that they've actually pocketed millions of dollars from the other side or from certain party and so on. Well, please don't pretend to be spokespersons for them. There is no way that you can represent them. Emily Lau? Chairman, I've heard the debate for a long time. I'm afraid I'm not able to support the invoking of the powers under the ordinance to meddle with the demonstrations staged by the public, because this will amount to white terror. The reason why we are in such a sorry state of affair, that's the way how the administration has dealt with it. In particular, those in the business sector would understand it. We should not be adding fuel to the saga. Yes, this evening we're going to have hundreds of thousands of people joining the rally. Of course, we want them to come out. But then, is it that we want to resolve the matter, or are we trying to fuel the matter? I don't understand it. I don't understand for those in the CY Leung regime, what are you trying to do? Where are you leading Hong Kong to? And I am against it. Wong Kwok Heng? Well, the Pan-Democrats, they have distorted the intention of Jeffrey Lam. They are suggesting that he is creating white terror. He is investigating into the public. I think this is confusing the truth and the untrue. And you said that there's no prima facie evidence about this. All right, we have this book, which is on the bookshelves in the bookstore. All right, the Pan-Democrats have received money, and it's a record of them doing so. All right, Jimmy Lai has spent tens of millions of dollars to incite the movement. And then the three organizers of the OCM and also the so-called organizers, including those of you here, what are you afraid of? If you have done nothing wrong, then why are you afraid of getting to the bottom of the truth, so that we can get to the bottom of the whole thing, so that for people who are disturbed by this, they will know what has happened. This is a book, and please take a look. Christopher Chung, allow me to speak first. This is my turn. Please think twice. Do we really want to investigate into it? What if we get to the bottom of the truth? It's going to be a big problem, because they are fully aware of the fact that Occupy Central is an unlawful movement, and still they are inciting the students so that they can go to the front line to be involved. And then for the political opportunists, they have received money, and they have incited people to join this illegal movement, and yet they pocketed the money. That's why they have reacted so strongly towards this. Is it like what we have in mind? And if there is nothing wrong, then why has the ICAC opened a file to look into it? So we ourselves will also have to think twice, because we are concerned that if they are exposed, then it's going to be really ugly, because their true face will be shown to the entire community. This is really very ugly. Chairman, I'd like to clarify, because Christopher Chung is suggesting that the PTU has incited the students to go to the forefront to be the first sacrifice for the whole movement. In fact, we've been very cautious about this. Well, some high school students would like to join the class boycott, and then for the average students, the PTU has no intention whatsoever to incite them to take to the streets or to join the class boycott. All right, they will have to make up their own mind depending on their maturity. So, Christopher Chung, please. All right, we all want you to come back safely so that your security would not be under threat, and you don't have to put words into other people's mouth. Okay? I will not be allowing members to speak in the third round. So after allowing Raymond Wong and Jeffrey Lam to speak, well, in fact, before I invite both of them to speak, I'll ask the legal advisor to respond to some of the questions asked by members just now. Legal advisor, Chairman, just now, some members raised different legal issues seeking my advice, so I'll just say the following for members' consideration. I'd like to stress that I'm just giving general advice. It has nothing to do with the two proposals before members. My advice is not specific in relation to the two proposals. My advice will just be general advice in relation to the circumstances under which the ordinance can be invoked. There's been suggestion that the House Committee Chairman should or should not be raising the motions at the Council meeting. It's about whether the content or the substance of the motion is appropriate. well, we can define it as whether or not it's constitutional or lawful and so on. In fact, many of these would also involve issues of desirability. So at this juncture in time, if this Council passes this motion, that would go beyond the scope of work of the legal advisor. But then on the issue of constitutionality and lawfulness, well, generally speaking, in considering issues like these, well, for a legislature and its internal operation in discharging the duties under the Basic Law, then generally speaking, even the court would recognize that the legislature should enjoy its powers and privileges under the law, unless it involves constitutional rights that should be protected by the court, or that the legislature has gone beyond its constitutional powers. Then the judiciary would interfere. But then, at present, given the provisions as cited by some members, that's under Article 73 of the Basic Law, there are 10 duties, and under 75 of the Basic Law, it says that the rules of procedure for the Legislative Council shall be made by the Council on its own, provided that they do not contravene this law. And also Article 78(1) says that members can appoint a committee to look at matters that have been assigned to it. So this is a general clause on the nature of a certain matter, but then there is no specific definition on the matter to be dealt with by this committee. So when necessary, this committee or this council can decide on its own.
So these provisions have been handed down from the previous LegCo before the reunification. Over the past 2 decades, we've seen a dozen or so select committees covering different areas. A lot of them have had to do with the government acts. Sometimes it is quite inevitable that the collective acts or the acts of the members of the public were included in 78(1) of the Rules of Procedure. As to now, for these 2 motions, they are seeking to empower LegCo to invoke Section 9 of the ROP for the Select Committee to enjoy the PNP power. Some said that the empowering scope would be too broad, so that it cannot be effective. I cannot rule out the possibility that this may happen if the LegCo has exceeded the scope of its power. Then certainly it would be subject to challenges. But if it is too vague, then there may be problems. Now, whether it is too broad or too narrow, it would depend on the proposal is a desirable one, more than whether it is lawful. I think it is entirely for members to decide. Chairman, I think we have to bear in mind that Article 73 of the Basic Law refers to the role of the LegCo. It is there to monitor the government. Article 73 of the Basic Law doesn't use the words monitor the government, but in Hong Kong, through the court's ruling, it has been affirmed that under the principle of separation of 3 powers, the Basic Law, it is realized through the Basic Law. It does cover other constitutional principles. And when discharging the duties, members have to bear in mind all of this. The legal advisor of the Council has been assisting members in their work, we would remind the members of all of this. As to how this should be implemented, it would depend on the situation. We've seen cases in the past where members of the public challenged the Select Committee's invocation of the power to summon witnesses. The relevant principles cited by the court is that it would be for the committee to interpret the law first, and they respect the position of the council. Of course, the overriding consideration is to safeguard the interest of the people under the Basic Law. I'm prepared to advise further. Mr. Raymond Wong, 2 minutes, please. Chairman. So we heard from the legal advisor, and now the floor is yours. You can seek clarification. We're not debating on the legal advice. Mr. Yip Kin Yuen, I heard from the legal advisor that previously we basically targeted at government acts. Sometimes the collective acts of the civil society might be involved, but the key target is government act. Now, I heard your detailed explanation. I heard what you said. Do I understand that this is the crux and the spirit of the law? Legal advisor. Chairman, this is not stipulated under the law. I'm merely saying that we have had so many select committees, and 78(1) of the ROP allowed members to conduct investigation. I was merely citing this as a fact for members' consideration. Mr. Wong, 2 minutes. Chairman, thank you. I don't really want to respond to the proposal raised by Mr. Lam. The position is very clear. I think you are really trying to find out whether there is anybody behind the students. And this is really despicable. My motion is very clear. We appoint a select committee to investigate into what happened on the 3rd of October and how the police handled the situation. This is only one sentence. And what you are proposing is really very, very drastic. Let me read you the statement on the 4th of October. We condemn the police for condoning the thugs to moving on the students. And this is out and out, through and through fascist. And Andy Zhang, Commissioner of Police, should step down to calm public anger. On the 3rd of October, in Causeway Bay, Mong Kok and Admiralty, the police didn't stop the violence on the scene. They didn't arrest any perpetrators. The Hong Kong SAR government has to show the responsibility and to be accountable to the public. The LegCo should set up a select committee to get to the bottom of the matter. Fourth, if we fail to realize all these aspirations, then the Hong Kong Communist administration is really against the members of the public. The Pan-Democrats should boycott the government in this term in order to rectify the situation. All these spontaneous activism on the street will never end. Mr. Jeffrey Lam, Chairman, on September 28th, I saw that the students were behaving in an orderly manner, but indeed there were troublemakers. I heard what members had to say. I'd like to respond to them here. Mr. Albert Ho said that I am at a very low level. I think we are really on a similar level. Now, you said that we shouldn't utter anything which is bereft of any evidence. Now, Mr. Fernando Cheung said that the police are colluding with the triads. You shouldn't say this unless you have evidence. Mr. KK Fong said that there were some beefy guys in Mong Kok who were triad members. I don't think Mr. Albert Chan would agree with that at all. Emily talked to the foreign media a lot. I don't think you merely play up the issue that the students were unarmed. I don't think the police would be spraying the pepper spray willy-nilly. The troublemakers on the front row were poking the policeman with the umbrella, and their arms were scratched. There were lacerations and so on, and they were kicking the police. Did you say anything like that also? If you mentioned that as well, then I would have more respect for you. Miss Emily Lau, I hope that you would say the whole truth. Dr. Kwok Ka-ki said a lot of things. I don't really understand what he said. Miss Helena Wong, I'm not with you about what you said. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan really, he praised on me. He said that I'm representing the Ministry of State Security, and nothing can be further from the truth. I hope the members can support my motion. All right, time's up. There are two motions for the evocation of PNP and the setting of select committees. Mr. Raymond Wong's motion is voted on first. For those in favor, please raise their hands. On the bell we go for 5 minutes.
現在表決開始，現在
Voting starts now. Now is the vote on Mr. Raymond Wong's proposal to set up a select committee under the PNP ordinance.
喺我宣布停
Before I declare the voting is closed, please verify your votes.
冇問題嘅。
If there is no question, then voting is closed. And please show the results. 60 members present, 24, 36 against. The motion is negatived. Next, a motion by Mr. Jeffrey Lam to set up a select committee. So will those in favor please raise their hands? The bell will ring for 5 minutes.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins.
喺我宣
Before I declare the voting is closed, please verify your votes. If there is no question, voting is closed. And please display the results. 61 present, 35 for, 25 against, 0 abstention. So the motion is carried. The earliest for this motion to be moved is on the 29th of November, and the notice period is the deadline for giving notice for amendment would be the 14th of October. Anything else on the AOB? No.